Oh, yeah. Oh, speaking of which, by the way, congratulations to everybody that is cool, that is involved on this list. Stop Anti-Semitism has decided 2024 Anti-Semite of the Year top 10 finalists. Hasan Piker, Cori Bush, John Cusack, Greta Thunberg, and then actual anti-Semites like Jake Shields, Jackson Hinkle, and Candace Owens, and Dan Bilzerian. I don't know who Jess Natalie even is. And then you have, okay, another person who is not anti-Semitic, Bassem Youssef. So it's really funny when these dumbasses openly showcase that they have no interest in like actually tackling real anti-Semitism, and they just want to dilute anti-Semitism and conflate it with anti-Zionism. I probably will end up winning this, by the way, which is really funny. But yeah. What? He said some lib things that are anti-Semitic because he lacks materials analysis. No, there are people who have said like straightforwardly anti-Semitic things who also happen to be anti-Israel, okay, but from an anti-Semitic perspective. And then there are people like Greta Thunberg or people like Cori Bush, people like John Cusack. You're ridiculous. Notice how someone like Myron isn't on there? Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of real anti-Semites that they could have put on that list with like some level of prominence, but it doesn't really matter because these people are freaks, dude. The people that run this shit. Yeah, I mean, past year's winners, Rashida Tlaib won 2023. Kanye West won in 2022. That was like a real anti-Semite for once, you know? Anuradha Mittal, the chair of the board of directors at Ben & Jerry's, won Anti-Semite of the Year. Nardine Kaswani, also Ilhan Omar. So I don't know about Nardine Kaswani, but I know Ilhan Omar is not an anti-Semite. And I suspect Anuradha Mittal is also not an anti-Semite as well. I mean, she works for the Jewish-owned brand of Ben and Jerry's, who is very prominently BDS, pro-BDS, boycott, divestments, and sanctions. So I suspect they felt maybe a little embarrassed putting Ben and Jerry on there because they're Jewish. So they were like, let's find someone else. Let's find like a brown woman. And then, you know, that way we'll get to feel better. Also, I have noticed one particular through line here. A lot, just everyone's a person of color. Literally. I don't know how this happened, but that's like 1, 2, 3, 4 people that are not anti-Semitic and anti-Israel, 1 person that is anti-Semitic. Everyone's a person of color. And mostly brown women too, like black and brown women. What a remarkable coincidence. I'll be the first white man on that leaderboard, baby. Let's go. Put me up there, coach. Ooh, I'm in good company here. I'm about to do DEI to Anti-Semite of the Year. Put a white man in there for once. Goddamn. A person going after real anti-Semitism wouldn't have this type of list, right? It's weird. Yeah, I mean, this is a list that very clearly, like lists like this and Canary Mission, like these guys very clearly, one, some of them straight up get grants from the Israeli Knesset. So that's like already weird. You're like a foreign lobby operation and you get to serially dox American college campus activists and shit. Like, what the fuck are you doing? That's weird. How the fuck do we let that slide? That's number one. Number two, these operations are basically, you know, yeah, Global Pop Star 2021 finalists were Ben and Jerry, and then Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Of course, 2 people on this list are not anti-Semitic and simply critical of Israel. One person literally said Jewish space lasers exist and is responsible for wildfires, and the person who won it was the Ben and Jerry's person. Yeah, this is a completely fraudulent thing. It's got no motion, and not only does it have no motion, it's like very obviously created by some fucking reactionary psychopathic freak that lives in like Long Island or something. It's like one crazy lady who runs this entire account and runs this entire thing. Canary Mission, I think, is like a lot more serious in terms of like its reach. And I believe it also gets like actual grants from the Israeli Knesset too. But yeah, the goal of Stop Anti-Semitism and other organizations like that is specifically to conflate real anti-Semites with people who are anti-Zionists to use, like, to have some level, some semblance of legitimacy to add to the list by being like, see, we paired up, we packaged up these people who have fought against anti-Semitism and all forms of bigotry, always, but they're also against the fascist state of Israel doing a genocide. And that is a crime almost as bad, if not worse, than actually being an out and about, anti-Semite. Oh, I'm livid. This is dangerous. I don't think it's as dangerous. I think the ADL doing this kind of stuff is probably worse. Oh, Drew made a few months ago video. My goat. Okay, we'll look at that too. God, we have a lot of fun stuff lined up today. But yeah, I just wanted to, I wanted to start the day by talking about, like, Stop Anti-Semitism is like the most low motion one out of all of these organizations. The ADL has like some semblance of institutional legitimacy, but I think they've really abused it over the course of the past couple of years to a certain degree, especially over the last year, where like they will get prominent, they will get prominently displayed by Fox News, and they'll get like MSNBC slots every now and then. But overall, most people are not going to take them seriously. I mean, even Wikipedia decided that they were an unreliable orator. So yeah, it's most normal people, I think, most intelligent people, most thoughtful people understand this. This only works for people who are just like already very invested in looking at any kind of anti-Israel sentiment, who are already like very primed into saying like anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. But it's got, the last year of just like lumping in anti-Zionism as anti-Semitic, anti-Zionism across the board being anti-Semitic has like really, I think, destroyed the credibility of a lot of these institutions that already didn't really have any credibility to begin, or shouldn't have had any credibility to begin with. But yeah, I said this list is a perfect demonstration of the unserious nature of these kinds of groups. There are progressives who are anti-Israel lumped in with anti-Semites who are anti-Israel. No one is buying this shit anymore. And I believe it. Like, who the is going to look at this and be like, yeah, Greta Thunberg is a real anti-Semite, and so is Cori Bush, and so is Hasan Piker. Maybe they might think I'm anti-Semitic, but like, when you lump me in with people like Cori Bush, John Cusack, and Greta Thunberg, they're like, you're kind of deflating the severity of the accusation. And Bassem Youssef, really suspicious. So yeah, people who aren't familiar with what anti-Semitism is or isn't will believe this. No. And the other side of the story that is like more damaging for at least like my Jewish community members and like Jews in the Western world specifically, the damaging side of this is that most people already have like some level of like underlying anti-Semitic tendencies. So when they see lists like this, it just makes them, I think, lean more in the direction of normalizing anti-Semites, which I don't like and I don't appreciate, and I hate this. That's why I'm very frustrated with the likes of ADL, because I don't think it's like ridiculous to have an institution that specifically targets anti-Semitism. I think that's a very valid and an honorable goal to have. But I think that it's disgusting and gross when you use real anti-Semitism as a way to tar and feather anyone who is critical of Israel. Does that make sense? Because that's our overarching goal here. It's basically to just silence critics of Israel, and it's not working because everyone can see what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? And every single time people just tie any sort of criticism of Israel to Judaism, and then say, oh, you're criticizing Israel because you're anti-Semitic, and then try to package that by looking at actually anti-Semitic people who are also critical of Israel because they're anti-Semitic. Most people are not going to look at that and say, especially right-wingers and stuff, or apolitical people are not going to look at that and say like, oh, wow, I really misunderstood this. I really now think Hasan is an anti-Semite. No, they're going to look at that and be like, Hasan is based just like Dan Bilzerian. That's what's frustrating about this process. I feel like I'm getting eaten alive by both ends in this situation, because like I am someone who obviously is a fighter against anti-Semitism, and always have been and always will be. It's a unacceptable bigotry. And for that reason, I despise these motherfuckers. One, because they're so pro-Israel, and two, because in the process of trying to defend Israel, they end up overextending and making people feel like anti-Semitism is not a serious problem at all. Hasan is just Candace Owens. Yeah, totally. Like, I can't think of another person that is so diametrically opposite to me as like Candace Owens. You know what I mean? Yeah, it is a whole website run by some schizophrenic lady in Long Island. Yeah. I don't know who Jess Natalie is, but I know who is not anti-Semitic on this list, and I know who is anti-Semitic on this list. Jake Shields is a anti-Semite. He said a bunch of, Jews control the media style things. Jackson Hinkle has said a bunch of anti-Semitic shit too. Candace Owens, anti-Semitic and anti-Israel. Daily Wire famously hired her, knowing full well that she was an anti-Semite, and fired her when, she wasn't just an anti-Semite, but also anti-Israel. That was a fun little process for Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring's operation there. Like, they hired her when she very famously said Hitler just wanted to make Germany great. Like, she was anti-Semitic when you fucking hired her, dog. And then they fired her claiming it was for anti-Semitism. It's like, well, you knew that already. Jess Natalie is an anti-Zionist activist. Okay, that makes sense. Yep, there it is. Okay, so yeah, I guess she was also another one of these people that was lumped into this category for the crime of being upset at a fascist country. Dan Bilzerian has also, Dan Bilzerian very famously, if you look at like 30-second clips, you might come across Dan Bilzerian's commentary on Israel-Palestine and think, damn, this guy has some good ideas. But if you watch the clip thoroughly, okay, if you watch like the next 30 seconds, you're like, oh my God, he is an insane anti-Semite. And it's a gross situation. But yes, he is yet another person that like very clearly has a lot of anti-Semitic opinions. And then Bassem Youssef is not an anti-Semite either. You can tell, but not everyone will care to make that distinction, unfortunately. I know. But the reality of the matter is most people don't give a shit. Most people hate this cancel culture shit. Everybody hates it. Everybody knows exactly what it is. So when you're constantly playing the role of a hall monitor going me, and crying about it, most people just go, yeah, I don't really give a shit. Okay, they're anti-Semitic. Who gives a fuck? Suck my dick. That's the other side of it.